like, oh God, they can see me. Don't worry, we won't embarrass you. We won't bring
He's
you up.
disappeared.
Okay, so hello, everyone. I'm so happy about this call. Let me make sure that we are recording. Hello, gorgeous people. I have got Johnathan Welsh here and secret here. I have been wanting Johnathan on the call. I've been trying to get Johnathan on this call for like over a year at this point. He is one of the founding members of the Cup of Joe. You were one of the first friendly faces when I used to do these interviews. You always had something interesting to input. You always supported your fellow narrators, and I think that we all talk about a supportive community, but I don't think people realize just how much those people that we count them as friends. It's, oh, Johnathan, like you're like the friend I work with that I see every day at 2 o'clock at the coffee machine. And that's nice. It was especially nice, you know, with the whole COVID thing, Zoom thing. And Johnathan was always there. And then the more I got to know about you, the more I realized just how busy you are and how you're living like 600 lives. So I want to talk a little bit about that. But first, I want to ask about 10-year-old Johnathan.
10-year-old Johnathan.
10-year-old Johnathan.
10-year-old John. I was living in 10-year-old. I was living in Osnabrück in Germany, in West Germany, as they used to call it then. And Osnabrück.
Wait, where were you born? Where were you
born?
born?
Born in Gibraltar.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So why were you in Germany? What?
Well, I was born in Gibraltar in the military hospital, so that's the clue. My father was in the military, and we moved about all over the place. So I grew up mainly in Germany, so in different bases. So at 10 years old, we were in Osnabrück, and I still remember the place, number 10 Gleivitzerweg.
Do you speak the language fluently?
No, not now. I used to speak conversational German, but not anymore. And I went to all these different primary schools, ended up in a boarding school with American and English students of servicemen in a place called Ham.
Did you get to wear uniforms?
Yeah.
Was it like Harry Potter kind of boarding school?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
I'm always so jealous of people that went to boarding school.
Yeah. So, yeah, at 10 years old, I remember I just joined the Boy Scouts, and I wasn't quite 10. I was nearly 10, but not quite. But they let me in, and we went camping. And I remember the guy down the street had this tent because the scouts would bring their own tents. We used to call them bivouacs. Have you heard of that? Bivouacs?
I've heard the word. Is it in Germany? They have Boy Scouts in Germany.
Yeah, well, I think it was part of the army thing as well, you know.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah, so this guy down the street said he had his own tent. So, and his tent was bright blue and the bivouacs were a dull brown. So we went with his bright blue tent, and the first night it rained and his tent wasn't waterproofed. We got so
style over substance right there.
Never forget it. Yeah.
So were you a happy kid? Did you have like big dreams for the future? Were you like just living?
Germany was magical. Germany was always magical, especially at Christmas. And the Germans know how to celebrate Christmas. On Christmas Eve, they have a special room that they deck out with all the presents and the decorations. There's decorations in the rest of the house, but one particular room is decked out, you know, for the children, especially for the children. And we used to go around choir singing, Christmas carol singing. And when you stand outside their house, they would always invite us in. So we would have to go in and stand in front of all these Deutsches and sing our Silent Night and all this, Stille Nacht, Heilige Nacht, Silent Night, Holy Night.
That's lovely.
And they would always pay us. And it's just so magical in Germany, because Germany's in the middle of a landmass. There was always snow at Christmas time. It was freezing. And we used to call it sledging. but you might call it tobogganing. Yeah.
Well, I'm terrified of the snow, so I don't kind of call it anything. I am
All
so
right.
scared of the snow. The first time I ever went to it, I slipped and fell on my back, and I was sure I
Oh,
was dying. I was
all
just
right.
winded, but yeah, I'm so scared of the snow. I'm scared of falling. But do you know what? I've got to be honest, your childhood sounds like a fairy tale. It sounds
Well,
idyllic.
the only problem with it is that we moved every 2 years. Every 2 years. So at 10 years old, I remember we were in Osnabrück, and I know we went to Minden, went to somewhere called Celle. We went to another place called Belampova. We're all over the place. But between the ages of about 3 and up to 12, I was in Germany most of the time. Then at 12, my parents went to live in Hong Kong. So I was put in boarding school near London.
Do you think that's why you've got such a way with people? Because of your upbringing?
Because of my what?
Because of your upbringing, because of all the moving and having to fit into different environments. Do you think that's
Oh,
why
well,
you get
yeah,
along with
maybe.
people?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I had to adapt all the time. But the thing about the primary schools is that my father was in a particular regiment. So he was in the Duke of Wellington's regiment. So all the young kids that I knew would move together. We'd all move together to all these different places. So I was with the same people most of the time. So, but we had to adapt to different teachers and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think that's where your love of singing came from? The singing and the
No, the singing started when I went to the boarding school in Germany at 11. And I started doing, I remember they wanted someone to read poetry. So I said, I'll do it. So I started to learn how to read poetry in front of all the school. So there was 1,000 kids in the school. So I used to get up and they would all be quiet. I mean, they weren't throwing tomatoes or anything. This was a long time ago. They were all very respectful. Not now, I suppose. I don't know if what would happen now, but so I learned to read poetry, and then they wanted someone to sing something. I can't remember what it was, but I joined, yeah, a small choir and from the school, and we went to sing in Cologne Cathedral, or Köln, as they call it, Cologne Cathedral, and it was on TV and everything. And that's when I started to sing. And my singing teacher approached my father and said, we'd like to send your son for an audition to St. Paul's Cathedral in London, because I used to sing descant sopranos, that's above soprano,
Wow.
high. And but my father said in his Yorkshire accent, no, he's not going.
Why were you mad at your father?
I remember being a bit peeved because I thought, wow, St. Paul's Cathedral Choir, that's a big deal. But I was
Yeah.
living in Germany, I mean, I'm just, I was 11, I don't know how the logistics of that would have worked in those days, well, even now, So
Well,
that's when
but
I
you
first started.
obviously had talent. You obviously had talent
Well, I
because,
think I could sing in tune. That was the thing. Yeah.
yeah, that's how I got all my speaking parts. I joined
Oh, right.
chorus
Yes.
and they didn't want me to sing. So they gave me lines instead in every single show just to not
Right.
let me sing.
Oh, you can't sing. Can you not sing, Daniela?
I thought I was a great singer, but evidently everyone else disagreed.
Oh,
Yeah, I thought nobody ever let me sing. I was singing on the swing in the backyard and the neighbor popped her head over. I think I was like 10. I knew every word to My Fair Lady and what was it? The Rex Harrison, Just You Wait, Henry Higgins. And I was singing and the neighbor's like, don't quit your day job.
oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Very good.
I think if you have an ear like you obviously do, and also I think it's intriguing because that ear, I wonder how much that informs your audiobook narration.
Yeah, because I still sing now, so I think it helps a lot with breathing. Breathing technique is really important in singing for holding notes and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think yeah, and pronunciation and all this kind of stuff. So I think that's quite important too.
And what
Yeah,
about rhythm and flow as well?
yeah, rhythm and flow, absolutely. Yeah,
And connecting to the word. I mean, I can't even imagine how many benefits that must have. Because to me, it's almost like if I were bilingual, which I'm not, but like you must have a deeper understanding of the language. You must have a deeper understanding of sound, of hearing yourself.
Yeah.
And
Well, I was also brought up listening to two languages. So I
yeah.
suppose I am bilingual. My mother's Spanish, my father's English. So when I was born, my mother couldn't speak English. So she spoke Spanish to me. So,
Do
yeah.
you speak Spanish?
Yes, to my mother, yeah.
Yeah, see, I'm jealous because we have the same thing, Italian father,
Oh, right, yes.
American mother, and we lived in Italy, and I was able to speak it when I was a little kid, and I can't now. I've lost
Yeah.
it.
It just disappears, doesn't it? Yeah, like German disappeared. But I speak Spanish all the time with my mother's elderly now, but I speak to her every week. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. I need to know now. So we've got this wonderful childhood. Everyone encounters a time in their life where they're tested and they have to, and it changes them and they have to find their way around an obstacle or something in their path. Do you remember, do you feel comfortable talking about a time like that and how you got
Well,
to the other side?
I had spent 1 year in the boarding school in Germany, and then my parents got a posting in the Far East, and they went to live in Hong Kong. And I was put in boarding school. When I say near London, actually it wasn't near London. I say near London for American audiences, but Hannibal and you, Daniela, might know where this is. It was in Ramsgate in Kent, so that's
Ah,
70 miles east
yep. I know Kent
city of
well.
London.
A
Uh,
commuting distance. Still could lie and say it was lie. It's a commuting distance, suburbs.
Yeah, well, and then the boarding school for some reason moved from Ramsgate to Westgate on Sea, and so there was a place where we used to stop. I used to get off the plane at Heathrow, go to Victoria Station, and then from Victoria Station, it's about an hour's journey to Ramsgate, and it would always stop. And Hannibal will laugh at this. The train would stop at a place called Margate, and at Margate, the guy would come over the intercom and he'd say, Margate, Margate, this is Margate. And I would start to get really depressed because I was nearly at boarding school. But you
Oh,
are, if there was anything to overcome. When I first went to boarding school in Ramsgate, my parents dropped me off on a Saturday, and I was dropped off and taken to the dormitory where I was to sleep. There was no one there, and they said, "Oh, they're away playing rugby." All the boys came, and I started to get really badly homesick. Really. Now, when you get homesick, you weep. And that's
yeah.
what I did a lot for the first month,
Oh,
even
I
though,
bet that made it easy for you with the guys.
yeah, oh my goodness. And it was just so bad. And I couldn't study. I couldn't, I was just thinking about, I wanted to be home. And it was really bizarre because I'd already done a year at boarding school in Germany. So I was thinking, what is this? You know, so I think it's because my parents were so far. I knew they were 8,000 miles away, you know. So,
Homesickness it's an actual thing. And once it hits you, you can't. I actually made my parents travel and go get me once because I wasn't having it. I like homesickness it's an awful, awful feeling.
yeah, it
Like you'll
is. Yeah,
do anything to get
yeah,
home.
it's traumatizing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But I got
how,
over it. I got over it. Yeah.
yeah. And what did you ever get homesick again after that? Or,
No, not really. No, I was fine after about the first month. There would be that depression, where you get on. When we used to fly out to Hong Kong, it was just so exciting for a schoolboy. And my sister used to come. My sister Pandora, she would come. She was at boarding school as well, and Pandora would come, and we'd fly out to Hong Kong, and it was great going there because in those days, like now, you get on at Heathrow and you fly one stop, 10 hours, 12 hours, you're in Hong Kong. In those days, it was BOAC, not British Airways. BOAC. Hannibal probably doesn't even know about BOAC. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the
I
chat.
know, but this is a good question, and it's a timely one too. Have you, oh, and he does know about BOAC. He says, have you revisited any of these places later in life?
Yes, I went back to my boarding school in, well, it was Ramsgate, then it went to Westgate in 1991. I
What was
went,
it like? Was it the same? Was it bittersweet?
it was bizarre. You know, when I walked in, I had Muriel with me and my two young children at the time. And I walked in and the smell of the school, oh my word, it all came back to me, you know. And a few of the teachers had passed on, but there were some who were still there that I recognized, and they came and they took us around and everything. We had lunch with them, and it was just really, really weird. It made me feel very odd because I was there for 5 years.
Yeah.
So, you know, from 12 to 18, 6 years.
And that's a big time of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hannibal says hearing you talk about it's bringing back his own memories, including the smell of school. I
Yeah.
wished I'd gone to boarding school. I'm very, very jealous of you guys.
Yeah. So Hannibal will know all about the smells, and you know that they really they stay with you because at that age, you know, you're just forming your own personality and character, and yeah.
Yeah, it's everything is it's 100-fold. Everything you experience when you're that age. Well, what did you do after school when you were first out in the world on your own, a fully grown
Well,
man?
I did a lot of singing at school and a lot of acting. I did a lot of acting with, there was a guy, he's not on the news anymore. Now, I don't know if you'll know him, Daniela, but because Hannibal now lives in the United States, he probably won't. But there was a guy called Alistair Stewart who
Oh,
used to
yes. Everyone
present the
knows
news.
Alistair Stewart.
Well, I went to school with him, and I used to do a lot of acting with him. He was a great actor. And I used to play, believe it or not, a lot of the women's parts. So they would make me up and I would play the women's parts. And we would do things like Mother Courage and Her Children. These are Bertolt Brecht plays. Oh, What a Lovely War. I don't know if you've heard of these, but we used to do those kinds of things because we were a public school. So public school is different. In America, public school is like a state school. But
Yeah,
in the
I'm really
UK,
confused still, and
yeah,
I've been
the
here like
UK
100
public schools
years.
are, as Hannibal will well know, the posh private boarding schools, you know, like Eton and Harrow.
And that's
So
a public, I know that's the part I don't understand. If it's private, why do they call it public?
I have no idea. I don't know if Hannibal knows, but they're just called. If you go to public school in England, you've gone somewhere quite posh, and that's where I developed my accent. Everybody spoke like me. They don't speak like that, you know, like down in the smoke like that. You know what I mean?
You've got quite a proclivity for accents, I've noticed. So
Well,
does that,
I
I bet
well,
that benefits you with audiobooks.
oh, I well, my sister told me uh, when I was young, I used to speak with like a Yorkshire accent, and I keep mentioning Hannibal, but he'll know the Yorkshire accent, won't you? Well, I used to live in York for about 8 years, and they spoke like this. You all right, Jonathan? Are you coming to pub? Yeah.
Oh, I used to be madly in love with a Yorkshireman. It was a choice between him and the Glaswegian, though.
All right.
Yeah, so
You wait for the Glaswegian.
I did. The accent got me.
Yeah.
Okay, so when did you begin CBT? Like that's
Right.
a long way from singing. How did that come about?
Well, just to say that when I left boarding school, the music teacher at my school insisted that I go to try opera. So I did that. I went to London to study opera when I was 19. I knew a ballerina in London, and she got me in contact with an opera teacher. Now, I didn't go to the School of Music because you had to have special qualifications to get in there. But I got this opera teacher in Baker Street, and she auditioned me, and she said she was Norwegian, and she said, "Yes, I can. I think I can teach you." You are
Wow.
a baritone. So I went from descant soprano to soprano, and then right down to baritone, and now I'm a bass. So she taught me for about 6 months, but I had to learn piano and German and Italian, and all I was interested in that time was growing my hair long,
And
and
the
all I
ballerina.
did, yeah, I was interested in. She's a bit older than me, but I was interested in women and drinking alcohol. So
Yeah.
that
London will do that
held
to
my.
you.
Yeah, I'll tell you a wee story though, just quickly. Well, the teacher, she said, next week I want you to come to the Shaftesbury Theatre in London. So I went to the Shaftesbury Theatre in London, and I met the cast of a musical that had just come out, but was very controversial, and it was called Hair.
Oh
Have
my
you heard?
gosh.
Well, the thing about Hair, and Hannibal probably knows this, is that all the actors in Hair acted on the stage completely naked. Now, I met them all, they all had their clothes on. They acted completely naked, so it was a bit controversial, but I don't know how long it ran for, but I never saw it. But I met all the actors and singers and everything, yeah.
Everyone, it's famous. Everyone knows Hannibal knows. So, okay. I'm obsessed
So,
with the whole you're living in London, hanging out with ballerinas,
yeah,
having
yeah,
like this really cool boho life. I mean,
yeah, yeah. It
that must have been like, was that like one of the best times of your life
was
living there?
exciting. I was living in Wimbledon, and I had a job in a record shop, HMV record shop in
You
Putney.
were so cool, Jonathan. You were
Uh,
so cool. I'm not
I
saying
used
you're
to
not cool
travel.
now, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. Used to travel every day on the tube, and it was especially bad during Wimbledon tennis because you were like the tube is generally in the morning when you go to work. It's like this, but
Yeah,
when the tennis
five
was on, it
long
was ridiculous,
years,
really bad. Yeah,
long years, long years on that tube. I got caught in the doors a couple of times. Somebody
did
on
you?
top of the long escalators going down to the tube,
Yeah,
the really
yeah,
steep ones at Waterloo.
yeah.
Somebody fell that was on top of me and
Oh,
sent me plummeting down, fractured my shoulder.
oh wow.
Long years,
Oh,
but still, it's exciting.
yeah.
There's nothing like traveling around London on the underground and like just
Uh,
it's fast, it's exciting. You must have had, how long were you living that life?
in London, I was only in London for about 8 months,
8 months.
living in a flat with a load of other people. We used to have lots of parties and stuff. And then I came back up to York, and so then I lived in York for about 8 years.
What was that decision like? Did you feel like you were giving something up when you decided to move back to York?
Yeah, I was giving up the opera, and sometimes I wish I had persevered with the opera, but at the time, I was 19 or 20, but I was I was more like a 13-year-old, really. I wasn't mature at all. you
Which is
know.
weird because you'd traveled around the world, you'd seen and
Yeah,
done so many things, but it's nice,
yeah,
I guess, to be able to hold on to your naivete through all that.
yeah, yeah. I guess so. Yeah, but then I was in York, and I thought, what am I going to do? I didn't have many qualifications from boarding school, and because the thing about boarding school, at a crucial time of O levels and A levels, we went co-ed. You know what co-ed is?
Wait, so you weren't, oh, so
It was a
so
boys'
the whole
board,
time you were separate, just guys? There weren't girls in
just
your
guys.
school?
Yeah, no girls, no girls.
Oh,
So
that'd be
then
awful.
there was an experiment, and they brought the fifth and sixth formers from my sister's boarding school to our boarding school. And initially, everybody was very shy. And then we all got paired off with the girls. Some got pregnant, and it was a weird time. Some got expelled. Some boys got expelled. Some girls got expelled. And it was just we were like, you know, I got paired off with girls. some different girls, and it was just at the time it was great fun. But I didn't do any. We used to call homework. You know what homework is? We used to call it prep.
Yeah.
You do it.
Call it what?
It's prep. We called it prep, and I'd be writing little love notes to a girl I'd met. You know.
How old were you?
At that 15, 16.
Yeah, that's the age. That's partly why I don't have a child, because I remember what I was like. It's amazing that I wasn't murdered. It's amazing. I would just get in cars with people. I would just go places with people I didn't know. Just anything for a cute boy. You know, it was like I was an intelligent girl, but suddenly I think you get 15 or 16, everything, opera careers, everything else goes out the window.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh wow. Yeah.
But it's exciting. It sounds idyllic. And Hannibal says, and I wonder about this. He says that he recalls the emotions of school a lot when he narrates. Do
Mhm.
you those intense emotions, you can use those when you're recording, can't you?
Absolutely, yes, because there were intense emotions at boarding school.
Yeah.
Um, but we were so young, teenagers, and yeah.
I think that's,
So then
do
in
you ever
York,
look back? Do you ever regret? Do you ever miss? Or do you ever miss those times?
well, I'm still in touch with one particular lad who I knew at boarding school. He now lives in Sicily.
Oh, wow.
And he was a policeman, a metropolitan policeman in London, and he married a police woman. And about 6 or 7 years ago, they just gave up their home in London and went to live in Sicily. So I speak to him quite a lot. Yeah, and we talk about the old times.
So where did you meet your wife, if it's not too personal?
I met her, you see, in when I was living in York. Um, I thought, what am I going to do? I wasn't doing anything. I was still drinking quite a lot, and someone introduced me to cannabis. So I had really long hair. This was the time. This was the mid 70s.
But
So
in this country, cannabis, it's mixed with tobacco in this country, isn't it?
yeah, that's what we used to do. Yes, make joints.
With
We used
tobacco
to
and
watch.
cannabis.
Yeah, we used to watch programs. Now I don't know if Hannibal will know, or if Kim would know who Cheech and Chong is.
Everyone knows Cheech and Chong.
We used to watch Cheech and Chong videos and smoke cannabis and be falling about laughing, watching Cheech and Chong in the 70s. Yeah. So I didn't know what to do, but a girl that I used to go, I was quite promiscuous, messing about with different girls. And this one particular girl said that she worked in a hospital. So she was a nurse in a hospital, and she got me a job as a porter. And then I thought, oh, I can do this nursing thing. So I applied to do psychiatric nursing, and I got in and I qualified as a psychiatric nurse. And then I went back to university in my early 40s. And I did a couple of degrees at Queen's University in Belfast. And that's where I started cognitive behavioral therapy.
Okay, I
So,
have a question about this. It occurred to me, and I wanted to ask you, the whole thing with America had quite a very strong, I'm not going to go into it one way or the other, but America had quite a very strong reaction last week with the occurrences going on. And people were very upset. And it reminded me how not comfortable I am around other people's emotions. Other people depress me when they're not, when they're not, I'm easily like, I easily take on other people's emotions. And I'm very curious as to if there are just different kinds of people that can do the kind of work that you did, dealing with people that have hard, intense, awful emotions without taking it into yourself and feeling awful, or whether it's a learned thing that you can develop. Because I'm just, I'll just like disappear. I'm not good with like, and luckily I'm in a relationship where we don't do the whole emotion thing. So it's lovely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's, I'm very uncomfortable with it. Is it a born trait? Or did you have to learn? Because you had intense emotions yourself when you were in school, so you were obviously very in touch with intensity. How did you not find yourself going back into that? Um, did you learn
Yeah.
or what?
Well, I am quite an emotional person, and Muriel, my wife, will tell you that I am. But you know, when you do the kind of work that I was doing, I worked mainly with when I was doing CBT, mainly with teenagers, and so you have to disassociate yourself. You have to separate yourself from what they're experiencing. Now, that doesn't mean, you know, I would I would sympathize with them, but it's a fine line between getting into
Sympathizing and empathizing.
yeah. There's a bit of a difference between
Yeah.
empathy and sympathy, but you have to separate yourself from it, otherwise you're no good to them. You know, you can't. You know, I wouldn't weep with them or anything like that. Put it that way. But I would try and understand where they're coming from. And that's a skill. That's a skill that you have to learn in itself. So the main thing about working with people who have, uh, emotional problems, whatever they might be, or anxiety or depression or whatever, um, it's you have to, as I say, you have to separate yourself. But the main part of the work is developing a relationship with them. So we call it the therapeutic relationship. And if you can develop a relationship with them and you can get their trust, that's half the battle. They will do what you ask them to do. Because when they came to see me as a therapist, I would have to engage with them, develop the relationship, and then I would start asking them to do things, homework, to get through whether it was GAD, generalized anxiety disorder, depression, OCD. But
And
depression,
you never got impatient. You never just wanted to say, suck it up. I mean, I mean, I'm not being
oh, you
rude or
can't.
anything. I was a
No,
manager
Daniela.
and they used to come to me like all the time. And I did help. I was good at helping because I genuinely cared. I wanted to help. And I would do my very best. I'd give everything I could think of to help. And even with like personal things, there were like, I managed 18 secretaries, right? And I really would want to help them. But towards the end, I was like thinking, I told you what to do. What? What's wrong? But they didn't want to do it. And every time they came to me, I was like, God, because I cared so much, I got depressed. Right. So like maybe it's training then. I mean, did it come naturally for you to be able to separate yourself?
Well, I think I'm quite a friendly sort of a chap, I think. And I think just trying to get into someone's head, I think that's a skill. And because I'd done so much psychiatry before I started doing CBT, so I had what's the word? I hit the road running, if you like. So when I started doing CBT, and CBT is a wonderful therapy, and it does work. But one of the disorders that I found incredibly difficult to work with is depression.
Yeah.
Depression.
That's
There are
another
basically
thing altogether. That's another thing altogether. And I'm not, and just for the record for this call, I'm in no way, I'm not downplaying other people's emotions. I'm just incapable of protecting myself from them. I understand that they're real to the person feeling them, but I'm not very good at, you know, I mean, I grew up with a depressed mother, so I get it. You know what I mean? But I think that through the years, were you able to help them in any other way when you were practicing CBT, or because of your psychology background, or did you refer them somewhere else?
No, the teenagers, they would always come to me. I would have them for, I suppose, 8 to 12 sessions over 2 or 3 months. But sometimes I would keep them on longer. I would keep them on, and the psychiatrist the consultant psychiatrist that I would work with would say, Johnathan, are you still with so and so? Have you not put them through their paces? But they would understand, because depression is such a difficult thing. OCD, no problem. 8 to 12 sessions and they're gone.
Really?
I love OCD. I love it. But depression is a totally different thing. There's 2 types of depression. There's kind of like a reactive depression, which is normal, where you react to the death of a loved one or something. That's okay. But there's another black depression.
And that's
Almost,
chemical. Is it chemical, that black depression?
well, we call it an endogenous type, from within.
Mhm.
And it's really difficult to shift. And
Um, oh, so Kim wants to know, what do you think of EMDR?
yeah, I did a course in EMDR. So eye movement desensitization and reprocessing is a wonderful therapy. So it was actually came about by this lady called Shapiro. Can't remember her first name. Shapiro was a clinical psychologist living in New York, and she went out for her lunch one day, and she was sitting in Central Park, and the wind was blowing these trees. And whatever was happening in her life, there was something bad happening. And she was watching the trees, and she was watching the branches move, and she was moving her eyes from side to side. And she found that as she did that and thought about her difficulties, she started to experience some kind of relief. So, being a clinical psychologist herself, she decided to look at this. She did years and years and years of research, and she came up with EMDR. So I did EMDR in a private clinic for only for about a year, but it works. It's
For
fantastic.
what is it good
Oh,
for?
for all sorts, mainly for trauma, PTSD, that sort of thing. I had a girl who came to me, and she was traumatized by a mouse that ran into her piano, and she had to get rid of the piano. So the piano had to go. And she came to me, and I put her through her paces using EMDR. And she was fine afterwards. And I think she got the piano back. But that's yeah. So trauma,
So,
EMDR. Yeah.
oh, and good. What can I quote you on this? Hannibal says EMDR is wonderful for trauma and PTSD.
Yes, it is.
Oh, yes, good point. And he also says the narrator life can present quite a few mental challenges. Any thoughts on what narrators can do to bear on those? Can bring to bear on those?
So what's he asking?
Like, what can narrate? So it is quite an intense job, isn't it?
Narrating.
Being a narrator.
Yeah, it is. And it brings out emotions in me that I would prefer not to have when I'm in the booth behind me there. I was doing a book recently for a company called John Marshall Media, 2 books for them. And can I say this? I wonder. Well, maybe.
Well, we can ask if you say something really, really awful, we can consider it and then just
No,
edit
it's
it out.
the prose, the text had sentences like the length of a big paragraph. And
Oh, I had one like that. Like every sentence was a paragraph long. It's quite a
yeah,
challenge.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I found myself, and this book was, it was a bit of a tome. It was quite long, and I hated going in to do the book. And But Kim's laughing, so she must have had a similar experience.
We've all had
I
a
can't see
similar
Hannibal, but I'm
experience.
sure Hannibal has as well. And I would be getting really angry in the booth and shouting and all this kind of stuff and getting on like an idiot. And Hannibal says, "Oh yes." So,
Yeah.
and those are, and then I would have to come out and just calm down a bit because it comes out in the narration, because you don't want to do it.
Do you know what? I found I actually have a couple of hacks in case you ever encounter it again. Um, because I experienced that. And I think the second book that I was like, okay, here we go again. I did two things that helped hugely. I looked up I looked up that writer on Audible because I realized if this is this person's style, then their other books are going to have been done the same. And I listened to what other narrators did, and other narrators broke the sentences up. And I realized actually they didn't break them up in the way that I would have broken them up, which which is, fine, each to his own. But it made me feel better and more confident that, okay, and they all had good reviews. So obviously, this is just what you have to do with this subject matter. So find places that I can break it up. And then the other thing that helped, because normally I tend to like count by the pages and the seconds, how many minutes I have left and this and that. And it's not good for being in the present. But what I do for a book like that, some books it's 5 pages, some books I can do 10, but I break it up and I go, okay, I've just got to do these 5 pages. And literally, if I get through the 5 pages, I get a treat, like chocolate or something. Like literally just to get my brain, just do these 5 pages. And on my spreadsheet, I have it down. I've done 5 pages. I put it up for where I'll be in the next 5 pages. Ooh, I'm down to 70 minutes left. I can do that. Where I'll be in the next. Oh, I'm down to 60 minutes left. And playing those mind tricks really, really helps, because then it's a game and it doesn't feel like this like endless marathon that I'm never going to see the end of,
Yeah.
right? Because that's because you do, some books require different things.
Mhm.
Some books you barely remember doing. You've had such a good time. And some books you literally need to go have a lie down if you've done 3 pages.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
yeah. So it's so do you think that your years doing CBT have changed you as a human being?
Oh, I think most definitely. Now, I didn't do CBT for that long. I think it was only about 10 years.
That's a
So,
long time.
oh, well, yeah, yeah.
That's-
But what it did do was I used to meet for my assessment. So, say a 14-year-old was experiencing OCD or whatever. So, mum and dad would come in and they would sit the boy or the little girl in a room with me, and I would talk to them. And what I got a lot of was, especially if I met them in the morning when my voice was lower, they would say, "Oh, Johnathan, your voice, I could just go to sleep listening to your voice." So so I got this a lot, a lot. So when I
could be good, could be not so good.
yeah, well, yeah, exactly, yeah. But they found my voice soothing.
Soothing.
So
Yeah.
um, especially if I'd been out singing. So if I've been out singing, doing concerts, the next morning my voice is super deep. And then I'd be talking to a family and they'd say those things. And so someone said, "Have you ever done voiceover?" So I started doing some voiceovers in 2018. So it was all right. It wasn't too bad, but I still do a few now. But then my wife said, "Why don't you do an audiobook?" And I thought, "Oh, never thought of that." So,
Where did you meet your wife? You never told me.
oh, her.
Eyes meet across a crowded room. I'm a sucker for a romance.
It was across a crowded room, yeah. So
Really?
I met her in January 1986, and I was working in a hospital in the north of England, and she had come over from Belfast to do her placement. She was doing a psychology degree, and we were at this doctor's leaving party, and I saw her from afar. Now, I had long hair, which I used to get the nurses to tie in like a plait. So I saw her, and everyone moved from where we were in the bar into the hall where there was disco music and stuff, and I asked her for a dance, and she started talking in her accent, which she still does.
Irish accent?
Yeah.
So cool.
She said something like, I said, would you like to dance? And she said something like, and who are you? Which is classic Belfast voice. And yeah. So I was mad then. I was crazy. I was still drinking. And although I was working, I was still drinking. And shortly after meeting her, that's when I became a Christian. And I stopped all my drinking, my smoking and all that. Yeah.
Oh, gosh. All for love. I like that. Okay.
So we've been married 38 years now.
Hannibal has a great suggestion. Have you ever considered recording sleep stories for YouTube or another app?
I used to do sleep therapy.
You'd be amazing.
I used to do it, Hannibal, I used to get a group of, now this is when I was doing adults, not teenagers, but we used to get, they asked me to do it because my voice was, a bit lower. And I'd have about 20 or 30 people in a room, mainly, having suffering from schizophrenia. They'd all be lying on the floor, and I can't remember what I did, but it was
that could go terribly wrong.
Mainly schizophrenia, some bipolars, but mainly psychotic type illnesses. And I used to talk to them, and they would all. The thing I would say was, listen to my voice, but don't fall asleep. The whole point is not to fall asleep, but I'm going to take you to a place that you love, maybe the beach or somewhere, and I would talk them through it over a space of an hour. But about 40 minutes in, you'd hear the snoring. So yeah, I used to do that.
Okay, so I'm gonna let you. Can you see the chat from where you are?
I haven't got it
Because
up.
there is another question, but I'm going to let you read it and decide if you want to answer it. So I don't read it out loud, just in case you don't want to answer it.
What?
The very bottom.
Slightly personal question. How did going from having so
Don't
much...
read it out loud, like in case you don't want to answer it.
All right. Oh, what? Yeah, well, it all fell out. Well, I had my hair stayed with me up until early 40s, and then it all just fell out.
Did your father have
my father's 91, he's got all his hair.
That's not fair.
My mother, who's not far off 99, all her brothers, my uncles, they were all bald, Spanish baldies. So I must have inherited that gene. Yeah.
Well, also,
sorry.
I have to mention the headphones. I'm getting a little bit like paranoid. I think that bar up there is rubbing on our hair and making us get premature balding, because I'm noticing I'm a girl. I'm not supposed to have that. I think the headphones.
Maybe.
I think they're not great for
Did you see Sean Pratt's animation of a narrator and an ordinary person, a non-narrator?
Oh, no.
The narrator has a little dent in their head. Yeah, it was so funny. You have to see it. It's just a profile, and Sean Pratt put it up ages ago. But yeah.
Yeah, it's you get weird habits in this job. I listen to when I'm on my Walkman, because when I record, I listen with one ear. I started that because Hillary told me to do it, and it made such a difference.
Be careful.
Now, yeah, because not on both ears, on one ear, and I don't know why, but it's just a game changer. Now I listen to everything with one ear. It's you know, I do stand in the booth, which I credit for the only reason I'm not being taken out of our flat in a forklift after the last few years. Okay, so what about your first audiobook? You got the idea in your head.
Oh yes, yes. So Muriel said. So I contacted an author in Belfast, a children's author, a Christian children's author, and I just rang her up and said, "See, you've got a book there. I'm an audiobook narrator. I would love to narrate it for you." And surprisingly, she said, "That would be lovely." And I said, "You don't have to pay me for it." She says, "Oh yes." She paid me for it. It wasn't that long. She gave me £1,000. I thought, this is good. And
Wow.
it was called 55-minute stories from around the world, something like that. It's on Audible. And that was my first one in late 2020. And
Oh,
now I must be near 75 now, 75 books. 75
that's a
books.
lot. That's fast.
Not
That's,
really, is it? I mean, you know, there's a girl called Paige Reisenfeld or Riesenfeld. She started at the same time as me. And when I hit 30, she had hit 30. Now she's way over 100.
yeah, but
And
that's a silly game that we
oh, I
can't
know, I
do
know,
that.
I know, I know, I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
But
It's
she
it
had last month, she said she had 30 books to do by Christmas.
yeah.
30. I'm I'm happy to do two a month
Yeah, but
because I have this,
it,
I can do two a month and that's fine with me. I
it's
don't
the
know how
whole
many,
rabbit and the
Kim
hare
does. I don't know how
thing.
many Kim does.
Yeah, it's the whole rabbit and the hare thing, and it's the and um and Hannibal will attest to this because if I'm having a good day, I can tell you about my schedule and I'm like, oh God, I've got to finish like 7 books this month, right? And if I put my mind to it, I can do a hell of a lot of recording very fast. If I'm having a bad day, I am the biggest mess on the face of the earth. Why did I say yes to anything? I'm never going to finish a single thing. What the hell am I doing? Oh my God, did I remember to brush my teeth? I haven't brushed my hair in a month. It's, the bird and the husband are going to have to sort themselves out. I think the husband's eating bird food at this point. You don't, and somebody else told me when you used to see, I used to beat myself up because I was working every single day, no time off, literally feeling like I was in like a prison of my own doing. Like I couldn't get a minute of my own life and it was never ending. And then I would look on Facebook and some some lovely person would post, I'm booked through the rest of the year. And it's just so easy. And I wanted to murder them. And then I don't know who said it, but they were a genius and they had a very good point. They said, booked through the rest of the year doesn't tell you anything. This is June. They could have one book in August and one book in November and then 2 books in December, and that's booked for the rest of the year. And you've told a bunch of people stupidly that you would do like 20 books by August 1st. So you can't, and Hannibal says comparison is the thief of joy. You literally don't know what's going on. You don't know if they're doing duels.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
don't know if
yeah,
they're doing 15-minute books. You don't
yeah,
know if they've got 2 books
yeah,
for the rest of the year. You don't know. And
yeah.
some people, yes, they are like killing themselves, doing like 3 hours a day, fair play to them. But, you know, is their house clean? Are they happy? Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
because
Yeah.
I'm that person, I have to watch myself
Mhm.
because I feel like it's a badge of honor that I work hard. My work ethic is something I'm very, very proud of. And I am proud of it. I was raised that way. Get on with it. No matter what happens, you work, right? And somebody told me you're aging yourself when you talk like that because it's a different generation. Because people now, they're not proud of like how hard they work. It's not like a badge of honor anymore. And I have to stop myself because it's not it's not coming out like the big like I am that I think it is. You know what I mean? You steadily done a hell of a lot of books in a
I
short
think it's
amount of
important.
time.
I think it's important to have other things to do,
Yeah.
not just be in there all day. So I still sing a lot, so
What does
I'm
that look like schedule wise? Like how often do you sing? How much does it take prep work ahead of time, rehearsals?
the Philharmonic is really the Philharmonic Choir here in Belfast is really difficult because I don't I'm although I'm starting to learn how to sight read, you're rigorously auditioned for that. Everybody, there's 150 people in that choir.
Wow.
Everybody knows how to read music apart from a few of us. So before I came on this call, I was trying to learn Elijah by Mendelssohn. It's really hard. So we have to do that at the end of this month in a big theatre. So that's quite hard. I go out with a quartet quite a bit. Not haven't been out very much, but I used to go out all the time. We used to tour your lovely country where Kim and Hannibal is. I was in North Carolina, all the southern states, Mississippi, Georgia, all those touring round and round and round
How do
for
you do all
years.
that and narrate?
I
How do
wasn't
you
narrating then. I
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
narrating then. So, but just before I started narrating, I was fortunate enough to go to Africa, and that was an experience to sing in Nigeria. Oh my word. I
Wow.
couldn't believe how there were so many people in the same place. It was just incredible. Yeah,
Wow.
1 million, but that was
That'd be
good.
an
But
experience.
now, yeah, I'll tomorrow, for example, I can narrate during the day, and then in the evening I'm away singing. Yeah.
Do you get days off in between? Because I would burn out doing that. I'd find it really hard.
Well, Sunday I'm quite busy, so I don't narrate normally on a Sunday, but all the other days I try and do a few chapters because I just have such a queue of books, so I have to get on with it.
I think that's lovely. I think you found, do you feel like you have work-life balance?
I think so, yeah. I just get what sometimes I think I get up in the morning and I think, oh, I'm chasing deadlines all the time, chasing deadlines, especially when people say, oh, we like your books to come in early rather than the deadline. So I'm always trying to,
Do
finish the book.
people say that?
Yeah, they do, yeah.
Who
They
says
say,
that?
well, there's a company that they go via they go through ACX, but they're called God Sounds out of Tallahassee in Florida. And I've done about 4 or 5 books for them. I'm doing another one at the moment. And the owner said to me, we really like it if your books can come in earlier. We like that. So
That's lovely. But as long as I'm 1 minute before the deadline, I've made the deadline.
all right, yes.
Do you know what I
I
mean?
don't like
It's
going over.
like,
I don't like going
yeah,
over.
yeah, that is lovely. That is nice.
But with that, I have to do all the editing and all the rest of it and add all the effects change,
Right. Even
all
more
that.
so.
Yeah. But
One
with
minute
John
before.
Marshall Media, you just do it, voice, punch and roll and send it off. It's fantastic. I love
Yeah,
that.
that's what I love. But see, my feeling about that is if you would like the book before the deadline, then maybe make the deadline earlier and we'll talk and then you'll get the book when you need the book. Because of course we'll try, but we're all really, really, really busy. And I think meeting deadlines is professional.
Yeah. Oh,
It's like
I try and do it.
it's like the people that say, if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. No, if I'm on time, I'm on time. That was the deal. It's just being professional, you know what I mean? But the
Mhm.
guy that says we like it early, say, I can't promise that. I'll do the best I can, but I can't promise that. I'm a really, really busy narrator.
Mhm.
Plus, I sing for the damn Philharmonic. What do you want from me? It boggles my mind that you do all that. And late at night as well. You must have some serious stamina. Do you not have full days where you just sleep?
I don't know what time you start. This morning I started at 8:30.
Yeah, that's not the time I start.
I started at 8:30 and I finished at 4,
I go to
5.
bed at like 3 a.m.
Yes, you do. I know you do. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't go to bed before. I go to bed, yeah, around about 1 a.m. So, but I haven't yet. I sometimes I would say, oh, I'm approaching a deadline. I'm going to have to work through the night, but I haven't yet. Haven't worked through the night. So
I
I'm trying.
have, and it goes surprisingly fast because there are no distractions and noise, and I absolutely detest it. I can't stand it. I feel very sorry for myself and pissed off that the rest of the world's asleep and I'm standing here like an idiot. I hate it.
So you try
And I
not to do.
always swear I'll never do it again.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so Johnathan, this is that moment in the call where
There's
I put you
James.
on the spot.
James, what time is this?
I know, James, hello, you missed the party. But 3 minutes of James's company is worth an
I'm so
hour of
sorry. I had
most
to go get a
people's.
birthday present for my wife.
It's okay.
We'll let you off then,
You are
James.
forgiven.
It's a big one, so I
James.
had to go get it.
Yeah,
A
James is
few-
my Reaper man. He's
So
my
how
Reaper.
did it go? How did it go?
All been very good, thank you.
Yeah. I'll
Jonathan
watch
is
the
a
replay when
superstar.
she posts it on you.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
Thank
Jonathan,
you for coming.
now we're about to put Jonathan on the spot. Jonathan coughs, so it pulls you
I
up
know
on
what's
screen.
coming. I know
Okay.
what's coming.
For the people that are watching this in 100 years, if you've got one really, really momentous, important thing that if they took nothing away from this call, but that one thing, what would you like them to remember? What would you leave them with?
I haven't got anything. No, I'm only joking.
Fake it, Jonathan.
Right. You know, I was talking about therapies and stuff like that. And one of the disorders that I used to see a lot of, I think I mentioned it before, is the anxiety related disorders, GAD,
Yeah.
generalized anxiety. And one of the symptoms that clients would always discuss with me was the W word. So you know what the W word is? Worry.
Oh, yeah.
Worry and worry and worry. And it's a kind of what if this happens? What if that happens? We used to talk for hours about worry. So my tip would be try to stop worrying, because worrying doesn't do anything. Worrying, the act of worrying, is passive. It doesn't do anything. It might stimulate you or, get you trying to do something, but the act of worrying is normally unproductive. It doesn't do anything. I worry sometimes. I do worry, deadlines and all that for books. But I would say try to stop worrying so much, because it's a stressor and it's not good for your health. It's not good, definitely not good for your blood pressure.
Yeah.
Stop. Try to stop worrying.
And we forget happy endings are possible. Sometimes if you look back at the thing, I read something the other day about a worry jar. I love the idea. Whereas every time you worry about something, you write it on a piece of paper and put it in the jar. And then at the end of the week, you go and pull all of them out and you see how many of them came out that way. And like most of the time, the things we worry about don't happen, but it's the whole news thing. The news wants us to be afraid and worried because if we're walking down the street and the news guy's next to us and they go, good news, today is a wonderful day and it's going to be great weather and we're all safe and sound, you're going to keep walking. But if he says, they're out to get you, somebody's going to get you, you're going to stop, aren't you, and buy the paper so you can find out who's going to get you. So Worry, you're right. You're so right about that. So what about leaving space for a possible happy ending? What if,
What?
what a possible happy ending? What if things go well? We don't ever ask ourselves that.
Exactly, yeah. So this what if thing, the what if, generally nothing happens. You know, in your head, you worry about things, and 99% of the time, what you're worrying, I'm talking about myself here as well, it never happens.
Yeah.
It never happens. Nothing, you know. So worry is so unproductive and stops you being productive. You know, if you're if you know, that's what I have to say.
I love that. I love this is a perfect way to end the call, because that is, because I don't know if it's our amygdala. I hear a lot about amygdala, but it's there's a part of our brain that just wants to react and keep us safe. That is not our friend. Like, right? Like, everything isn't awful. You know, I've turned it, I'm curating what I see and read and listen to right now, because I'm in charge of what goes in there.
You are.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we should all be. Johnathan, it's been a joy. I'm so glad we finally caught up, and I just want to express my gratitude, and I think I can say this on behalf of your fellow narrators as well. Your presence, you're hugely talented, you're lovely and calm, you're very modest, which drives me crazy. I was looking for something like where you were like bragging about yourself on social media or something, you know, and I was like, nothing. He just gives the facts. You're hugely talented, and we all love you.
Well, just before we go, is the thing is that I have this fraternity of other narrators that I can rely on. Like you, for example, Daniela, you've been very, very helpful to me over the years. You really have, and very encouraging. Mr. Romick is my Reaper man. He's been really helpful and very patient. And Hannibal is my accountability partner. And I'll be meeting him this Friday. Don't forget, Hannibal. And we chat about everything. We chat not just audiobooks, but we chat about all sorts of things. And Kim, I just see Kim all the time on here. So you should
I know
have
Kim,
Kim
because
show.
Kim is like the female you. Kim is like always there, always smiling, always has our back. It's like
Yeah.
having real friends. I don't understand what people's beef is with online friends, because I definitely like you guys better than anyone I've worked in stupid offices with.
And you all respond really quickly. When I'm in a panic about something, say, for example, to do with Reaper, James is always there and he responds all so quickly. Yeah. And Hannibal as well. And you too, Daniela. Yeah. It's just lovely. So, yeah, technology.
It's a good, strong, we do the same job and we get each other. And I don't think
Yeah.
you can ask for more than that with friends.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to say, James, I don't know when he gets the time, because he does that for newbies. He does that for everyone. He does that for people he barely knows. He like, seriously.
I'm just generally a nice guy.
He is. He is.
Don't
Guys,
tell my wife. I have a reputation to maintain.
this call has been like a warm hug. You guys are fabulous. And I send you off into the night or day where some of you are. And I wish you all the best. Thank you so much. And thank you for taking the time. And
Thank you very much for having me.
bye.
It was great.
Bye.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.